This is County Executive Warren Evans, and this is Inside Wayne County.
Hello and welcome to Inside Wayne County. I'm your host, Lloyd Jackson, and this show is designed to give you important information and also keep you informed about what's going on inside Wayne County government. Today, I'll take you inside the office of the Wayne County Department of Homeland Security and Emergency Management, which is responsible for the protection and prevention of terrorist activities and the response and recovery of disasters in Wayne County. The department works daily to implement a regional strategy and coordinate with our counterparts throughout southeastern Michigan to deliver the resources that the first responder community needs to respond to incidents that confront us. With us today to give us more information is the Director of Homeland Security and Emergency Management for Wayne County, Tad Sturdivant. Tad, it's good to see you. Thanks for being here today.
Thank you for having me.
I like to introduce all the time to our residents the guest I have on the show, kind of get some background, find out who Tad Sturdivant is. So let's start with that, your education and how you got here to Wayne County and some of the different positions you've held.
Sure. Lloyd, first of all, I was born and raised on the east side of Detroit.
East Sider.
East side, yes, absolutely. Went to Castick High School, went to Wayne State, graduated from Wayne State with a bachelor's degree in criminal justice. And from graduation from Wayne State, enlisted in the Michigan Department of State Police, where I held every rank in the agency until I was appointed director of Michigan State Police in the year 2003 by then Governor Jennifer Granholm. And as the director of the state police, I held several titles. Number one, Homeland Security Director for the entire state, Emergency Management Director for the entire state, as well as, at that time, the Fire Marshal for the state of Michigan.
How did you get here to Wayne County?
That's interesting. I retired in 2006. At that time, I'm married and have two daughters. My daughters were seniors in high school, and my job was taking me away in a lot of different times, so I wanted to spend more time with them. So when I retired, I had an opportunity to become employed by Wayne County in a Department of Children and Family Services. And from there, dealing with juvenile justice and adult offenders, I had an opportunity to be appointed as the Homeland Security Director by our CEO, Warren Evans.
And so, you know, with all the background and all the experience you had coming into that position, it's a perfect position for you.
It's a position in which I'm familiar with.
Let me make sure we get something correct for the viewers out there, because a lot of people, when you hear of Homeland Security, a lot of times they feel like, okay, Homeland Security is first responder. That's not right.
You're absolutely correct. And let me just give you a little bit of history.
Yes.
After the terrorist attacks in New York City, the largest reformation of government in our history occurred with a department called Homeland Security. You had all of these different federal branches, and they were all put under Homeland Security to ensure a more coordinated response. So here at Wayne County, our Homeland Security Emergency Management, we treat all hazards approach, and no, we're not the first responders. Our primary responsibility is to ensure that first responders have the necessary resources to do their particular jobs and to set up an emergency operating center so that information and policy can be developed on spot if needed, but to ensure that first responders have the appropriate resources to take care of whatever situation they're dealing with.
How often do you interact with the federal government, Homeland Security?
Probably on a daily basis in some sort of a respect. At Homeland Security, we work closely with FEMA. We work closely with Homeland Security itself. We work closely with the state as well as our partners in local jurisdictions.
Talk about the different things that Homeland Security for Wayne County does, aside from when we have these big events that may happen downtown or in the city. Things that happen really like in your home to make sure your home is safe and those kind of things.
Sure. First of all, in Homeland Security, there's four basic things that we always are doing.
Okay.
We're either planning, we're either mitigating, we're either responding, or we are recovering. So in those four things, everything that we do is matched in one of those particular categories. I'm glad you said things around the house. It's important that the community is prepared. Wayne County, we just trained over 400 what we call CERT, or Community Emergency Response Teams.
Okay.
And those are regular citizens like you and I, and they're trained in how to respond and assist government, or to assist in the fact that they need to assist. So for example, in homes, we tell people to have some sort of an emergency response kit in your house, bottled water, equipment, certain food that maybe you'll be able to sustain yourself up to 72 hours, a radio, fresh batteries, and then change those batteries, just like in your smoke detectors, change those batteries in your kit. And every home should have somewhat of an escape plan. I'm not a firefighter,
right,
but should have some sort of escape plan in case of an emergency, such as in a fire, or you have to leave the house right away.
How important is that? Because, you know, people go about their day-to-day lives, they're busy, they're not really thinking about it until it happens.
Let me tell you, it's not important until you need it. So in our day-to-day lives, we probably won't use that kit, and hopefully we won't ever have to use that kit. But let me just use an example. The blackout that occurred in 2003.
Yeah. I remember that.
So did I. I was the emergency management director of the state during that time. And when that blackout occurred, a lot of people were without batteries, fresh water, water that does a lot of things. So you need those things. Now, a blackout hopefully will never occur again, but that was one of the things that caught people that needed an emergency kit.
What about some type of chemical release? How do we prepare for that?
You know, we have Fermi nuclear plant in Monroe County, but we are the joining county. So we're within what we call the zone of Fermi nuclear plant. We work daily with Fermi. We have emergency operating plans dealing specifically with Fermi in case of an incident, in case of a chemical release. We have evacuation plans, which are all contained in our emergency operating plan.
Now, there also is like seasonal preparedness, because there are things that happen seasonally. Wintertime, you get, you know, bad snowstorms. Summertime, you get the tornadoes, high winds, floods, those types of things.
Floods really affected this region last year. But I'm glad you talked about seasonal, because we are now coming into the winter season. And sometimes winter brings a lot of snow and ice. That brings power outages. And as a result of a power outage, in your particular neighborhood, maybe 3-4 blocks away, they have power. But in your particular neighborhood, you might be without power, which, again, you would have to use your emergency kit. But Homeland Security Emergency Management Wayne County, we also coordinate with the local jurisdictions for warming centers. In case citizens needs to go to a particular location, we have a list in which they could go.
How often do you interact with your counterparts in the other counties?
Daily. So you're
daily.
saying, well, how much time do you have in your day? If I'm not interacting, a member of my staff is interacting with our local counterparts. Part of our responsibility is to liaison with Homeland Security Emergency Management for those cities, townships, and villages within Wayne County. We interact with them. We have meetings. We have local planning team meetings. We have all types of plans. We drill. We exercise our plans. So it would be a daily basis.
And when you say drills, that's so important, because when you talk about different disasters that may happen, and when it happens quickly. You got to respond. You got to bring your people together. And if you guys have not gone through that type of exercise, everybody's kind of running into each other, and you have some type of, just catastrophe there.
Absolutely. You know, you can put together a great plan, put it on the shelf, and if that plan collects dust, it's probably not doing anybody any service. So you have to take that plan off, and you have to drill or exercise portions of your plan, especially in a region as populated as Southeast Michigan. You have different players, people retire, different names, telephone numbers, technology, all these things come into play in which you have to keep your plan up to date. And in fact, next year we'll have a major Fermi exercise drill to drill for potential things that could occur in Fermi.
How does Homeland Security Emergency Management handle things such as a package that may be left somewhere, or maybe something through the mail where somebody is maybe put something through the mail. How do you guys deal with those types of
Typically, we're involved in the coordination of
Okay.
those first responders. Again, Lloyd, you hit the nail on the head when you said we typically are not the first responders. So what we're doing is that we're preparing resources necessary for those first responders to deal with that particular package, whether it's calling out bomb teams, whether it's ensuring that law enforcement has the resources that they need, ensuring that laboratories are put on alert so that that package is handled in the most safe manner. It's also coordination, potentially the evacuation
Yes.
of individuals if it is in a popular building. One of the things that it's basically 5 things that we do, Lloyd.
Okay.
Number one, we liaison with those communities in Wayne County, cities, townships, and cities, and townships and villages, excuse me, to ensure that we're talking on a daily basis about emergency responses. Second thing that we do is we provide issuances for our CEO in case he wants to declare an emergency or a disaster based upon a homemade or a man-made type disaster.
Okay.
Third thing that we do is we provide an emergency operating center, or the term that you will hear often is an EOC. An EOC is actually the nucleus of an incident. So for that package you just talked about, there could be an EOC set up in which we go into an incident command in which all information flows through, which resources are gathered, where the decision makers gather, where all information going out to the media is assimilated. So it is a nucleus of a situation.
And everybody's on the same page.
Everybody's on the same page. The fourth thing that we do is that we ensure the coordination of our county departments. So if that package was in a county building, part of our role is to ensure the coordination of that county department or county departments for their emergency operating plans. And the last thing that we do is that when incidents occur in this particular region, we call it a regional approach. You have a lot of resources, but not one particular agency probably can handle all the things that could occur. So we handle and coordinate with and have a regional response or a mutual aid compact that can come and deal with that particular package.
What about schools and different buildings that are in Wayne County as far as some type of evacuation plan or drill?
Over 673 schools are part of our plans. The reason why I say that, because we just went through as school started to making sure that the names are still correct, the superintendents are still correct, the principals, the contact numbers, something hasn't changed, the school has not closed, and those schools have to have a operational plan in case of a disaster. And once they exercise their plan, we then turn that plan or that exercise over to the local first responders that will be responsible for that individual school in Wayne County.
Something different, Tad Sturdivant, that's different from a lot of other cities around the country is that Detroit, Michigan, we're border with Canada. So we got Canada right across the river there. How does that play into what emergency management and Homeland Security for Wayne County does? Let
me tell you about a program where we just sort of kicked off August 12th of this year.
Okay.
BIDP, which is the Border Demonstration Interoperability Plan. BIDP is the first time since the Detroit-Windsor Tunnel was built, we now have complete communication or interoperability in that tunnel. What does that mean? That means the first responders have to respond to a situation at that tunnel, they now can communicate with one another. Up until Wayne County took on this program with our partners such as Detroit, Macomb County, Oakland County, Ontario, our international partners, as well as Chippewa County in the UP for the Sault Ste. Marie border,
right.
We now can talk to one another. And we know through experiences such as 9/11 and other incidents, one of the most important attributes or assets you can have is for first responders to be able to communicate effectively with one another.
So you mean to tell me, like, if something was going on in the tunnel before, there was no way to really...
You would have to communicate outside of the tunnel and bring and relay and convey that information to the first responders in the tunnel. And with this new $4 million project, which, by the way, the Department of Homeland Security from the federal standpoint says that our program, our BIDP, is a model for the rest of the country based upon the cooperation and interface that we did have with our partners. When we exercised the equipment last August the 12th, we had individuals from Windsor, from Ontario, from the UP, from the local counties along the border, and we all sat in offices, and we were all able to communicate with one another.
Are these like special radios or something that you guys are using to communicate?
There are special radios, but more importantly, there's special lines that went into the tunnel to make this happen. And again, it was a special project. It was funded by a grant. And I think that it increases the public safety in this region because first responders can, in fact, talk to one another, which means they can effectively handle a situation.
Yeah, because, you know, when you're under the tunnel is underwater, and anything could happen. You need to have that way to respond to the first responders. Now, what about the bridge? Is the bridge, I mean, that's on the outside?
The bridge is on the outside. You know, the tunnel is not only in the water, but the tunnel actually goes under the ground. So it goes under the water, if I can say that. So that was a great project for Wayne County and our CEO to take on.
There's also, I understand, an urban security initiative. Can you explain what that is?
Sure. It's called, the term we use is UASI,
okay.
An Urban Area Security Initiative. This is a program which was started by the federal government to ensure a regional approach to a situation. Here in Southeast Michigan, we have 7 entities: Wayne County, the City of Detroit, Macomb, Washtenaw, Macomb, in Oakland, and I'm skipping one right now, Brain Lockett. Okay. But these particular individuals, we come together as a board, and we ensure funding for special projects to secure the region, projects such as equipment for first responders, radio communications. In fact, one of our #1 priorities is interoperable communications.
Okay.
You'll hear me talk about that a lot. But and then police and fire department, special equipment. And this UASI program used to, like all grants, probably had a lot more money in yesterday. And as that money is dwindling, we as the UASI board have to take a look at the pot of money is divided among the 7 entities.
Okay.
And then we come together and says, what's best for the region? Not necessarily what's best for each individual county or city. So for example, Lloyd, if the City of Detroit has a certain type of equipment, maybe Wayne County doesn't need that same type of equipment because if something happened in Wayne County, the City of Detroit could provide that particular resource, and then vice versa.
Gotcha.
So it is a regional approach.
And how important is it to have that regional approach? Because for so long, a long time, it was kind of like us against them. Give me mine, you get yours, and I got mine, you get yours. But you can do more when you guys work together. You
know, no bad guy understands or respects jurisdictional boundaries. So it's good that you break those silos down, because if an incident was to happen in a particular community, it would require a regional response in order to safely handle that particular incident. And you know, one thing that's very, very important, we have what we call a Detroit Southeast Michigan Intelligence Center.
Okay.
And this center is critical as it relates to Homeland Security and other type crimes that could occur. This is a center that analyzes intelligence, as I say, scrubs it, and then sends it back out to the community so that we as emergency management planners or law enforcement, and I used to be law enforcement, but I'm not anymore, and law enforcement can use that particular intelligence to better handle a situation.
Now, when the federal government raises the terrorist threat level, how does that information get down to the local levels, the local Homeland Security level, and then what happens once they do that?
Secretary Tom Ridge, who's the former governor of Pennsylvania, was the first Homeland Security Secretary. He developed a style, and I don't think we use anymore, where you had a color code.
Right.
You had green, orange, red, and I think the city of New York was always on orange because of its population and the potential target. As the threat level is raised, that is communicated down from the federal government to the states, and then the states will communicate that down to the locals. And I used to be at the state level, so I know how that operates. Now I'm at the local level. So it's communicated down to us through intelligence.
So can people go on the website, the county's website, get more information about Homeland Security, emergency management?
They can, but they won't get specific type information. Obviously, some of our emergency operating plans are things in which we wouldn't want everyone to know.
Absolutely. Tad Sturdivant, pleasure having you here on
Lloyd,
Inside
it was a
Wayne
pleasure
County.
to be here.
Thank you very much. Stay tuned for upcoming shows as I take you inside Wayne County departments and introduce you to the people in charge and the many services they provide. It's all with the goal of keeping you up to date with everything going on inside Wayne County. I'm Lloyd Jackson. See you next time.